Do you have any idea? A great number of young people are completely unaware of this piece of history. So let's talk about this incredibly funny story today. Julia and Jack hit the East Pavilion's glamorous makeover, now the French Ministry of the Interior, where they bump into a wise-looking old man. She hopes to peel back a mystical veil of history, but this old man's got a face full of heartbreak and helplessness. Turns out we're not just talking here. Back in the day, the East Pavilion was like a live Hunger Games, with cops sealing up all the toilets to catch those running little sprites. Fun fact, the arrest decision came from local French cops, not Germans. Surprise. A few days later, the East Pavilion turned into a full house situation, with Sara and her parents packed in like sardines. How sad. 2 days later, folks got split up like her bad pizza, with Sara and her parents shipped off to the vacation spot, a temporary refuge. On day 2 at the camp, she finds her parents also thrown into the same pot. What a heartbreaker. But soon enough, those heroes shipped off all the men to a curious trip to Auschwitz. The remaining ladies and kiddos were kept under watch, turning the camp into a sea of tears. A bunch of moms, heartbroken by their temporary separation from their kids, started to revolt, only to see their momentum fade away. Just then, Sara realizes her precious key has gone MIA. She turns to find it, but gets hilariously caught by the guard. Noticing the little girl's determined eyes, Jack softens up and hands her the key. What a sweet guy. But poor Sara, after receiving the key, shivered on the ground. Even with the key, she can't unlock that frozen gilt door. Talk about a losing battle against time. When she wakes up again, she finds she's been placed in a cozy home. Talk about waking up from a nightmare. Thanks to the big scare, Sara snoozed for 3 whole days in the campus like she's in a sleep marathon. Meanwhile, the slightly older Summer played nanny, doting on her day and night. What a trooper. The camp held only kids. Adults were sent on a grand journey to Auschwitz. Close by, a group of kind-hearted ladies often tossed food to the kids. Must be their version of a secret supply drop. Just then, Sara ran into Jack, using an apple as her step by mistake. Finally, on a day when the gods slacked off, Sara and Summer crept up to the barbed wire and made their dramatic escape from the camp. But then Sara couldn't believe her luck. Even with all her efforts, she couldn't save her brother's life. What a tragic ending. Time flies. We're back in 2009 London. Julia's husband's grandpa is a historical figure. Grandma's enjoying life in a nursing home. Julia, frequently visiting Grandma, always brings some loot, magazines and snacks. What a dutiful kid. Noticing Julia's tired eyes, Grandma reassures her, "Don't wear yourself out. Let's not turn the apartment into a disaster zone." She reminisces about moving in with nothing, almost like the house took a hit from the war itself. Julia couldn't help but doubt this, but Grandma had turned into the forgetful queen over time. After leaving the hospital, Julia sensed some mystical stores hidden within the apartment she was about to renovate. After dinner one night, Julia secretly spills a secret to her husband. After 6 years of waiting, a new member is fine. However, her husband unexpectedly said, "I don't want this baby," causing a mini argument to ensue. Next morning, Julie eagerly visited the archive at the East Pavilion site, housing names and photos from that time. Looking at the photos of those underage children, she feels a sharp pain in her heart. The staff informs her that her job is simply to skip over these data and quickly focus on the live examples. Just then, her father-in-law called, but she decided to go invisible and not pick up. The subtitles read, "The staff mentioned that their current apartment was precisely the densely populated area where Jews once resided, and Julie knew that her husband's family members were all good people." However, she still wants to know the story behind the apartment, her mind racing as rain taps the window. Holding the photo of Sara and her brother, Julie can't help but shed tears, triggering her emotion explosion. The next day, she checks prisoner names at the paper, finding nothing frustrating. Subtitles. Julie speculates that they might still be alive, but with her father-in-law's constant incoming calls, she doesn't know how to inquire about it. Out of nowhere, when Julia visits Grandma, her father-in-law had been waiting there for ages. Edward learns from his son that Julia's probing into the apartment matter and writing an article about the East Pavilion incident, the real identity. Edward hopes that she won't involve the family, but his father-in-law turns out to be the little boy who was responsible for opening the door back then, a major revelation of true identity. Subtitles, thus, Edward and his father witnessed all of this, and fortunately, since his mother had gone out, they managed to escape from this human tragedy. Julie's father seems to have been defeated, thinking it was just a duck, only for everything to spiral into chaos. Talk about confusing. They shut the window, only to have made a bigger mess. Turns out they just couldn't find the key. They didn't plan on breaking down the door, yet the kiddo turned out to be the key factor. What an unexpected twist. After it was all over, the father-son duo never mentioned Sara's name again. They probably feared the truth would come back to bite them like a curse. Edward's queries to his dad were always shut down, causing emotional fatigue. After Edward's father passed, he stored some personal files in a bank vault and never dared to check them, holding on to secrets till the very end. Inside the vault, Julia discovered a box filled with documents, featuring a folder labeled with Sara's name. Talk about opening a new world. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe for more humorous content coming your way.